Hey guys, it's SF and new Hatcher is coming up as the second Samurai's Hatcher coming on March the 2nd. My prediction after the Maestro batch has been done, and here are my analysis of the seven monsters. So the five Hatchers and the two extreme levels. The three Savage level monsters are pretty much Ascend materials, so not very useful in my opinion, just like any other hatcher there. So I'm gonna leave that out, but I'm gonna do all five hatchers, two 4 stars and three 5 stars. So let's start with the 4 stars. First one being Hojo, whatever her name is. His name is a he. Evolve. No damage wall, okay stats for a 5-star monster. Speed up, power up. It's only a speed up and high damage to shields. And cross EX laser out. For the bump combo, my opinion is that he is not very strong. Strike shot wise, stats wise, he's okay. Ability, no damage wall, not the best, but not the worst. It's not as bad as like a no warp, but not as good as a no gravity barrier. Strike shot, it's only a speed up and it's not a power up, and it does damage to shields. Not the best. Shield breakers are not really good in the future. Even right now in NA, nobody uses shield breakers anymore, and even in the future, nobody uses shield breakers anymore, even though they're shields, because there's a lot of monsters that can bypass those shields, like reflecting lasers, one-way lasers. Any lasers are good. Energy circles, homings, and stuff like that can bypass the shields and do damage to bosses and stuff like that. And people have very good boxes in JP, or have a really, when they get a solid box, they just stack either no damage walls if they have shields that let out damage walls and stuff like that. So shield breakers are not good, so the strike shot's not that good. So very one of the worst, not really the worst, but not the best ones out there in terms of 4-star monsters. Well, the bump combo's okay and stats are okay. Filler wise, he's not that great. He doesn't really have a specific dungeon that he's really good at. He's just there as if you're really starting out and you don't have anything good in terms of no damage wall characters, then he can fill. So something like Da Vinci, he might be okay, but there might be, if you don't have anything better, but you have stuff that is better, then go for it. Like in terms of Da Vinci, I would rather bring in Izanami, who is not a no damage wall character, over this guy. But that's just my opinion. Next up, the second 4-star monster is Naoe Kanetsugu. Let's look at the evolved form. Demon Slayer M. High speed, okay stats in terms of HP for HP and attack. Strike shot is a speed up and power up, and piercing spread shot EL3 for the bump combo. Her uses is okay. She's very good for Queen Butterfly and Deathclaw. If you're just starting out, you might want to get those two. Those two are very good extreme level dungeon monsters to start out if you get her. But if you have a solid box, she's not really the best. She's more better for Deathclaw than Queen Butterfly, because Deathclaw doesn't have like damage walls and stuff. Mines are, you can bypass mines or you can just ignore mines. So if you're trying to get Deathclaw and stuff like that, or even if you get really unlucky and you roll a luck 90 on her, she's not that bad, and it can help you get a max up Deathclaw or a Queen Butterfly that way. Now let's look at the 5-star monsters. First up, Takeda Shingen. Let's look at the evolved form. Evolved form is, he's a blast type, no gravity barrier, so very low speed but high attack. Strike shot is same thing as Marlin and Margaret, which is shows up all the weak spots on the boss. Bump combo is a piercing homing 8 with a higher attack, with one of the highest powers, under the Ascend form of Low Lady, but that's not in JP yet. It's the same as Evolve Low Lady, the mermaid. So he is good on that part. Let's look at the Ascend version. Ability the same, no gravity barrier. Attacks lower, attacks very high, speeds low as well, but it's a little bit higher on the Ascended version. Strike shot is a speed up and does a lot of hits for when it hits enemies. Why is that important? Because items shows up when you items have a higher chance of showing up if you get more hits. So something like Sanada Yukimura, strike shots, or just her regular bump combos is really good. Just to get items up if you really need it. Bump combos the same, and with the sub of a spread shot L2. My recommendation for this guy is the Evolve form. Why? Just because of the strike shot difference. He's a more supportive type monster, just like Merlin, and with piercing homing 8s, which does more mob clear. Of course, Merlin kind of one-ups Takeda Shingen after he ascends with the gauge of heal, but not that much different from the regular Evolved Merlin. I think I like this guy more than the regular Evolved Merlin because he has potential. He has really high potential on Morning farming during the Tread Lightly series, Tread Lightly tier, or even stuff under that. Because of his powerful homing 8, it's better than like Teeny. Even though Teeny has flight and has a attacking strike shot, but this guy does more wave clear and it can help other people do more attack, do more damage with the strike shot. Because his bump combo power is more higher than Teeny. I think Teeny's piercing is like 2,400. This guy's 3,300, and it's the same number of shots. Next up, Uesugi Kenshin. Evolve form. Ability Dragon Slayer L, piercing, very good stats. I really like the stats. Strike shot is a bash on the first contacted enemy and a knockup. Something like Hercules or Okuta Soji Evolve form. Bump combo is EX Laser L. Ascended version. Ability no damage wall. Gauge of Fire Slayer. Stats are pretty good. Higher attack. Strike shot is a 3-turn delay just like Mundus. Bump combo is a vertical laser L and S for the sub. My recommendation is very easily the Ascended version. Why? Just because of the Fire Slayer, that's really good. And the Evolved version, the Dragon Slayer, is not that helpful. There aren't really dragon bosses except for Fireworm and Darkworm, and even so, those two dungeons are very easy, so you can live without evolving Uesugi Kenshin just to have a better time, because there are other monsters that can also give you an easy time to clear those dungeons. And even though the Ascended version does have a weaker bump combo because it doesn't cover as much area as an EX Laser L, the Fire Slayer is too much to give up. And of course the strike shot 3-turn delay is very good. Her uses: Astra, the Fire Impossible dungeon on the second round in JP, she's really good. Any fire dungeon, she's pretty good. Fireworm, of course. What a fire one. Momotaro, it's okay. Astro's okay. She's just like Ryoma, where it doesn't matter what dungeon there is, you'll probably bring Ryoma no matter what happens. Even though that dungeon is full of damage walls, you'll probably bring Ryoma. Even though there's like mines and stuff like that, you'll probably bring Ryoma. Just like that, Uesugi Kenshin, you'll bring anything that's fire, you'll bring her to any fire dungeons. Even though there's like a lot of gravity barriers like Momotaro or like Astrov, you can bring her in. I've used her a lot in my JP account, and I'm very happy and lucky to get her. Her use, another use, Izanami, she's not that useful in Izanami, but you do need some kind of carry because she can't really carry herself. You like kind of like Margaret or Napoleon, but her strike shot is very useful in just in case where your Margarets are not positioned well for the boss for that stage, so you can just use the strike shot just to delay and give some time for Margarets to position and then take it on from there. Next, the final 5-star Hatcher monster is Tokugawa Ieyasu. Evolve form, Minesweeper, no gravity barrier, very high speed, one of the highest speeds in the game. Just a little bit under Teeny by a few, around 10 speed. Strike shot is the same as Teeny though. Giant laser plus homing. Bump combo is a piercing homing 8. The ascended version is just a no gravity barrier. Speed does fall down a bit. Strike shot is the same. Bump combo is the same with the sub of Spread Shot L2. Now, this guy is kind of a flip. People usually go for the evolve version just for Minesweeper. He becomes like the best Hatcher monster in the game to farm for the Tread Lightly series because of the Minesweeper and the no gravity barrier, and of course homing is really good, and piercing, piercing as well, and strike shot and is a damaging as strike shot as well. But why people might choose the ascended version is just because of Tsukuyomi. If you think why can't the evolved version do it, is basically the same. The ascended version meets the attack threshold for Tsukuyomi. Tsukuyomi needs 23,300 attack to one-shot mobs in that stage. The ascended version barely meets it, very barely meets it, and the evolved version doesn't. But it really depends on your box. That's why it's kind of a flip. If you have monsters that are in your box that are like Ryoma, Napoleon, even some of the Yukimura in there, as well as either Merlin or Lancelot X, if you have like 1 or 2 of those 5, then you should go for the evolved version. If you don't, then go for the ascended version just so you can use him in that dungeon. But of course Tsukuyomi is long way away from NA, so you can just do the evolved version and then ascend him later. I'm pretty sure he'll be back when Tsukuyomi comes back around in terms of his ascend materials, or you can just save it up or whatever needs be. So let's look at the descended monsters. First up is Tengu. Evolved version, flight, geisha of no gravity barrier. Stats are a lot of high stat thresholds in terms of pluses. Strike shot is the same as Ra, which is a giant flame into a targeted direction, not the best. And bump combo is lock on shockwave 6 with a very high 25,000, better than like Momotaro's lock-ons and a lot of Hatcher monsters. I think better, of course, better than Jiraiya as well. The ascended version, flight, no gravity barrier in the same ability, not gauge, so the evolved version does have a higher attack than the ascended version just because it has the 20% attack boost, as well as just having more attack in general before the 20%. You can compare that later. But strike shot is the same. Bump combo becomes a homing 18 and a spread shot L2 for the sub. My recommendation is 100% the ascended version. Even though he becomes the #1 Hatcher farmable monster for the Tread Lightly series in terms of the stuff that he brings. Flight gives You won't take damage from mines, no gravity barrier. That's all there is in terms of gimmicks in those dungeons, as well as the homing 18 for homings. I bring him a lot in my JP. I did put up a video of my JP farming team and he was in there. I do recommend to max luck this guy. In terms of other dungeons, in terms of Descent dungeons, he's not that great. He can be a max luck for Yamato Takeru, which is the water 60 stem, the water impossible dungeon that's after Kushinada. But outside from that, there's not much. There might be a lot of a lot of dungeons where you need mob clear, and he can be okay in it, but he's not as better than stuff like some of the hatchet monsters you might have in terms of homing. But I do recommend max lucking this guy. And his dungeon is not really hard, it's only damage walls, just like Da Vinci. But Da Vinci is harder because Da Vinci's dungeon, you have to keep in mind of her damage and trying to get away from her damage, even though the reflecting laser from her is like you can't get away. But and Da Vinci's dungeon is like she attacks hard and so does her mobs. Tengu's is the mobs only attack hard where he doesn't really attack hard. He does have one that is really bad, but that's because you're too close to him. It's the flame. It's the flame where if you get too close, you can probably get one-shotted. If you have one or two that's like together, and then it's like, and then he hits you there in that range. But that's kind of avoidable. But Tengu's not that hard in terms of dungeon. You can probably clear easily with Izanamis, Ryomas, or Kushinadas, or even stuff like Fenrir, Visceron, just any no damage wall characters in the game that you have. Next up is Zashiki Warash, the evolved form, Demi-Human Slayer M. Strike shot is first contact, bash first contact an enemy and a giant laser, and a laser, not giant laser, just a normal laser, just like Strike Jr., Dark Worm, something along those lines. Bump combo, cross laser L. The ascended version, she becomes a lock tutor. Ability is a Beast Slayer and Gauge of Recovery S. Strike shot is a giant laser, just like Tiger. Bump combo is a cross laser L, and sub of EX laser S. My recommendation in terms of viability is this is the evolved version, just because there's demi-humans in terms of bosses. There's no beast bosses in the game, if I remember correctly. Even so, but overall, her as a monster, her usefulness as a monster is not that high. You probably won't bring her anywhere. Her as in, you might bring her to Momotaro, but Momotaro has a lot of gravity barriers and she won't be doing that much. You might bounce off a few of her and bounce her between like the walls and stuff, but chances are you might not get there just because of the heavy damage walls. And Isum, she might be good in Isum, but you don't really need to farm him. And of course there's alternatives to being Isum in that dungeon. But what I see most in JP is people just go for the ascended version just for collection, just because it's just a better artwork. It's cuter than the evolved version. If you're wondering about the recovery S, it's very hard to hit, and it doesn't really do that much in terms of well, it does do a lot, but you do have to hit all three monsters, all three of your allies, just to get to that 14% of your full HP recovered. And it's really hard to hit. Very hard to hit. It's the hardest hitting gauge shot in the game. It's like 2 times as fast as normal, as a double ability slayer, like a double ability gauge shot. So it's faster than like stuff like low damage walls, no gravity barriers, about like 2 or 2.5 times faster than that, and the sections is just as small as any like Slayer ability or no damage or no gravity. But that's it. My rankings is in terms of these monsters for the hatchers anyways. Uesugi Kenshin number 1, number 2 is Tokugawa Ieyasu, 3 Takeda Shingen, 4 Naoe Kanetsugu, and 5 Hojo. In terms of descent, max luck Tengu if you can. If you can't, then at least get him to ascend, and then you can use him in farming. Tread lightly those Morling dungeons. And Zashiki Warash is kind of a collection monster. Viability wise, not that good. But that's pretty much it. I hope you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.